In this lesson you're going to learn how to configure the control panel. The control panel is a component of Windows. It provides a view and changes system settings. In this version of Windows you can go to control panel options by typing the word control panel into Cortana just down here, and you can see control panel appears at the top. You can see the classic control panel icon here and then click on it and you get taken to the control panels window. Here you can find the main system settings which you can manage, as you can see here. We'll just zoom in. You can see the tabs, System Security, where you can configure security settings such as Windows Defender and Firewall, Administrative Tools, Backup Options and Power Options. You can see user accounts that let you add additional account on your computer and permit you to change the account from the admin to the user. Network and Internet tab is used for connection options and troubleshooting connection problems. Appearance and Personalization tab is where you can customize your desktop background and visual options. Hardware and Sound tab is used to manage external devices connected to your computer. These include printers. The Clock, Language and Region tab sets your time zone and your preferred language to use. Programs tab, you can install and remove software, and you can also add some additional Windows features. Ease of access is to configure the Windows accessibility options. If you'd like to have a more detailed view, you can set your view from the category to large icons view here. So you just tick down to the next tab, or you can choose small icons if you so wish. Obviously depends on your monitor size and resolution, but you can play with those settings up there. As you can see, with small view you can see the control panel options in detail. You can choose the option directly to set your system settings. Here we have Administrative Tools. You can see the tool is used to manage your computer. You'll be able to use this tool only if you run them as an administrator. Coming back to the control panel, among the other things that you can see are those already present. For example, Programs and Features, Windows Defender Firewall, Network and Sharing Center for Internet connectivity. Another way to access the control panel from a Windows 10 is from the taskbar. Right click at the Windows Start icon. From this menu you have many rapid options like some administrative tools. So this will open an alternative view of the Windows control panel here under Windows Settings. In this version we have almost the same items that we found in the last window, such as ease of access, time and language, personalization, and others new ones such as Cortana. This is the virtual assistant for Windows 10. Alright, so we've just had a short view of control panel. Please follow along with your own version of Windows 10. Thanks for watching. In this lesson you're going to learn how to manage your desktop settings. Desktop settings allow you to customize many graphical options about your desktop. Many of these options involve and can be changed from the taskbar just down here. This is the start menu for the taskbar, which I've just clicked on. And you can see different tabs like setting tabs, power tabs. Other contents related to the usability of Windows are around here. Click on the settings tab here and you can open up the Windows settings, which we saw earlier. And we can go to personalization here. Customize your desktop and taskbar settings in here. Here we have the background in which we can customize the desktop settings. For example, we can choose a picture as a screen or a solid color, or a slideshow that can be changed every several minutes as you wish. You can see the settings just down here. You can choose an image from your personal folders. There's a particular image that you like, and we can personalize our desktop settings exactly as we prefer. The colors permit you to change the color of the folders and taskbar tool. And here are some of the colors you can use, or you can choose a custom color if you so wish. The lock screen is to permit and set an image for the lock screen. Themes allow you to set a theme for your Windows desktop from all those proposed. Start tabs allow you to customize the start menu, which we'll look at in more detail later. Taskbar tabs set some options for the taskbar, such as hiding the taskbar or keeping it permanently on show. And you can see the options here. Set the taskbar to the right in this particular part, and you can see it's up there on the right. Or it depends how you want your environment to look for your desktop, down to your personal preferences. It can be the bottom or left also. Other options that customize your taskbar down here. Coming back to the Start tab, we can see quite a few interesting options that you can use to personalize your Start menu. We have Show More Title options that shows us the yellow area to see more extra titles available. Show App List to see a list of all the apps installed on your device. You can see this in the green area. Show Recently Added shows you the latest installed apps just here. Show Most Used shows you the most frequently used apps, so it's a quick way of accessing the things you access most often. Use Start Full Screen allows you to see the Start menu in your full screen on your desktop. You can even choose which folders to have appearing on your Start menu. You can select the folders you want to see along here. Just click on or off as you wish. For example, documented downloads. If you click on the icon, you can see the folders selected before. You can see we have documents and the download folders here. Turn it off and you can see they're no longer available for this particular menu. Alright, so you can customize your taskbar even or adding or removing the application directly by pinning them on the taskbar itself. You've got the unpin option here, or you can pin to start, for example, looking at the recycle bin. So in this lesson you learned how to customize your desktop settings. Thanks for watching. In this lesson you're going to learn how to manage native applications and tools. First tool in Windows 10 will be the browser, Microsoft Edge. Just click on the big blue E here. So this is the native browser for Windows 10. This is the start page for Edge, and you can click on the dots, get to the settings here. In this menu you can select the new page that you want to open. So this will be the default. For example, if you want to use Google, you'll type google.com and save it. If you restart your browser again, you'll see the new start page open. So here we are at Google. Edge uses Bing as the search engine, and you can see that when you're writing in the bar here. You can actually change this from settings. So with your advanced settings, change search engine. You can see Bing as the default here. And if you change it, you'll have to open a search engine page, in this instance Google. Click on Set as Default. Now your search engine is Google, as you can see. Clear browser settings, you can go to the settings and clear browsing data. Choose what you want to clear, and you can see a list of all of the possible files that you wish to clear. You can add or remove, and then click on clear. Close all tabs for now. Another tool is Cortana, which is your virtual assistant for Windows 10. You can use the microphone or type. And it will start pulling up suggestions as you speak or type, and obviously change it as you remove letters or words. Clicking on the gear on the left, you can access the settings for Cortana. In Talk to Cortana, you can choose the audio settings, such as the microphone. Hey Cortana, which allows you to interact with Cortana. Keyboard shortcut to recall Cortana with keyboard tabs. Lock screen allows you to lock the screen, obviously. The language is to choose the language. In permissions here and history, you can set the permissions for Cortana and safe search to filter. So these are your permissions here. Cloud search to cloud content, and history where you can clear your device history. Notifications to manage which notifications you get. Another tool you can recall from the Cortana taskbar is MS config. This is used to manage the system configurations. So click on the suggestion that comes at the top there. And you can see the system configuration box here with the tabs. You have general to set which service to start with a startup system. The boot is to choose the boot options. Just be careful what you choose here. You'll have safe boot as well if you want to perform a safe boot. Services allows you to see all the active services that are working at the moment. Recommended to hide all of the Microsoft services. The Startup tab we'll look at in more detail later. Tools allows you to launch different tools for the Windows. The Startup tab here, it allows you to manage the programs that start with the start of the operating system. This is by the Task Manager. As you can see, there's a number of processes and programs that start. From Task Manager, you can see here, enable or disable the start program at the start of Windows. So what do you want to actually be enabled when Windows boots? Some things automatically start when you install the program, and you just may not want that to happen. Processes allow you to check the processes are now running on your operating system. You can customize your view, choosing which processes you see. So this will be changed to suit your own tastes. Performance tab shows you performance such as the CPU and the disk. App history shows you the history of resource usage. The user shows you the active programs for the current user. Details to see all the details of the currently active processes. Services shows you the services which are currently active. So I'll close that window down. Computer management is a tool that allows you to manage your performance for your computer. To access it, you have to go to the control panel and then administrative tools, computer management, and you have to run as administrator. So you can see all the tools useful for managing your computer here. System tools, you can see tools such as the task schedule to manage your tasks. Event viewer to see which events have been logged on your system. Shared folder is used to manage any shared folders you have. Performance is to monitor the system performance. Device manager is to manage devices connected to your computer. The tab storage here for disk management manages your disk partitions and allocation of space. Service and application allows you to manage the running and the stopping of services. Close all that down for now. We've just learned how to manage the native applications and tools. Thanks for watching. In this lesson you're going to learn how to manage your mobility settings. Windows 10 allows you to sync shared files with a network server. To do this, from Control Panel you have to click on the Sync Center just down here. From Manage Offline Files you have to enable offline files. So click this box here and then click on OK. And obviously you can undo this here. After that you can set your options for offline files as the space for disk usage. Here you can change the limits. Just use the slider. From here you can choose to encrypt the file from the Encryptions tab. And you can set the options to automatically work offline from the Network tab. The sync and other options can be activated from the Mobility Center. Right click on the Start tabs, select Mobility Center. Here you can see the different rapid options such as the Sync Center, which we saw just a moment earlier. You can set the brightness from here, volume, see the battery status, any external displays connected to your computer. Another tool, the Windows 10, is Remote Desktop. Use a remote desktop, you have to enable it first. It's disabled for security purposes. So you go to the system. Here you can see details for your device. All through here you can see your RAM and etc. You can select the advanced system settings. Here you can see advanced settings such as computer name, hardware, advanced, system protection, and then remote. Here you can enable remote desktop by clicking on the checkbox. Allow remote assistant connection to this computer. So choose the radio button to allow, and then you apply, and then OK. Now you can use the remote desktop. Simply type it into Cortana, and it will pop up at the top there as the top option. Now you have to type into the bar the IP address of the computer that you want to connect to, or its name. I'll put the IP address in. Or the name here. Then you click on Connect to connect to the remote device. We're not actually going to do that at the moment because we don't have one set up, but it's important you know how to reach that particular settings. In this lesson we're going to learn how to use management tools. Windows allows you to manage your tools as we've seen in earlier videos. You can manage your tools using the Microsoft Management Console, or MMC. To recall it, all you have to do is type MMC into Cortana and then run it as administrator. So you can right click and run as administrator. This is your management console. It's empty at the moment, as you can see, and you have to fill it with your preferred tools. To do this, click on Add or Remove Snap-ins, and you can select which tools to customize your console with. A performance monitor, for example. You can choose your personal tools and add them into the console by clicking Add. Some tools can be added from another device. In this case we choose local computer. Click on OK. Got a long list here of things you can choose. Even in this particular case we're selecting the local computer. You can see in the brackets here. For example, we choose on our console these 4 tools to manage. As you can see, by clicking on each tool you can work in it as you did in previous lessons. do so yourself when you're working on your own machine at home. Now that your console has been created, you can save it to open it as and when you need. I'm going to call this R console and then click on save. You can see at the top of the file it's saving it as the Microsoft Management Console file.sc. Now that your console has been saved, you can open it from this icon on the desktop. Clicked on it and you can see here that all of our tools are present. Another important tool for Windows 10 is the command line tool Windows PowerShell. Very important when you come to do Windows Server certifications. Click on Programs and Features under Control Panel. Click on Turn Windows Features on or off. And we're looking down here for Windows PowerShell 2.0. Obviously the number may change as they update the versions. Searching for the files and applies the changes. And you can see the feature has been turned on for your device. Close that window there. So let's type PowerShell into Cortana now. And you can click on the Windows icon for Windows PowerShell. And the command line window opens here. The CLI command line interface. Got advanced to work that, so another powerful tool is the Windows PowerShell ISE. I'll just click on this. So this is a tool for Windows PowerShell. It allows you to edit your script and debug it, which again is quite advanced. You wouldn't need to do that necessarily for this exam. After you debug it, script, you can run it in Windows PowerShell. So it's just a quick look at these tools for now. So this lesson you learned how to use management tools. In this lesson we're going to learn about Windows operating system editions and upgrade paths. Windows 10 is the latest version of the operating system for Windows devices, end devices. You can update it from 8.1 Windows or Windows 7. You can verify the requirements needed from the Microsoft requirements page. Easiest way to get to that page, because the URL could change over time or move, is just do a web search, search engine. So Microsoft Windows 10 requirements, and then when you press enter, it should be the first page that shows here. Now there's a link at the top there for mobile devices, so if you want to check the requirements for mobile devices, then click on the top there. So these could include tablets, etc., but do check the page to see what's covered. So start at the top of the page. And also note that I said earlier that you need to be running the latest version of Windows 7. that has to be running also Service Pack 1 or the Windows 8.1 update to get to Windows 10. So looking at that, you can't get there from XP or Windows 98 or anything earlier. So here are the requirements. These are minimum, bear in mind, so having something higher would be better. 1 gigahertz or faster. For RAM, 32 gigabyte for 32-bit and 64 gig for 64-bit Windows. Hard disk, you're going to need 16 gig or 20 gig for 64-bit. Graphics card, DirectX 9X or later with WDDM 1.0 driver, and then you can see the display. Windows 10 will automatically receive updates, so especially if you read through all of these important notes, they say it's important for a reason. For Pro and Enterprise, you can update postpone updates, but even that is for a limited amount of time if you carry on reading. Devices with 32 gig of hard drive may need additional storage to complete the upgrade, which is why I mentioned the minimum updates earlier. So you may need to update or upgrade your hard drive before you upgrade your operating system. Let's see some upgrade editions. So Windows Starter can be updated to Windows Home. You can see in the box there the versions that will be upgradable. 7 Pro, Ultimate, 8.1 Pro and Educational to Windows 10 Professional Pro. The mobile version, 8.1 Mobile, updatable to Windows 10 Mobile. Windows RT 8.1 RT, not updatable unfortunately for you if you've got it. Windows 7 stroke 8.1 Enterprise under the software assurances of Microsoft. You can see from the summary table that desktop devices are updatable here in all versions of Windows 10. Tablet device has a Mobile 2, updatable only on Home and Pro editions. So these are some of the requirements for mobile devices, Windows 10 updates, worth having a look. Quite a long list there with the different model numbers available. Some requirements may need you to be running Windows Phone 8.1 before you do upgrade. 1.4 gigabytes of space. Again, this is a minimum. Bear in mind the updates are going to take more space. And Wi-Fi connection. Alright, so we looked at some of the upgrade paths. Please take some notes and read it in your own time as well. I'll see you on the next presentation. In this lesson we're going to learn how to perform installation types. When you have to install Windows 10 on your device, you've got about 3 options at least. The first one is a clean install, which won't save your data. you install your operating system from zero. For example, if you bought a new machine, you can do this with DVDs or a USB or over the network. Another way is to upgrade your old OS version, which we talked about previously. In this case, you'll keep your data and you'll install the new version over the old one. And the last way is to perform a migration. It's very useful when you can't do the previous two. In the migration, you'll save your data over to a server and then reload after you've installed your operating system. Clean installation. No, you'll probably do this when you've built your own PC at home or just bought a bare bones device. So you'll find this is the installation screen when you're doing your clean install. And you'll have various prompts as you go through the process. You can set your language to install here. You can add or remove these later. Your time format and your keyboard input methods depending on where you are in the world and what type of keyboard you've bought. This can obviously take some time. The installation step is when you go through the license process. You can choose to perform an upgrade and keep the files or go through a custom installation. For custom, you'll select the drive where you'll want to perform the installation. This is the face that you'll see for the installation. We've zipped through this, fast forwarded it. In reality, it will probably take a lot longer when you're doing it. Then there'll be a restart at least once as you go through the process. Get yourself a cup of tea or coffee while it's all rebooting and the timers are ticking along or the percentage markers are increasing. You can obviously read the pages in your own time. After the computer's rebooted, you can read the screens and you'll see the following screens. You can set your personal settings such as username and your password. So choose a secure password as the prompt suggests up there, normally upper, lowercase, characters, some numbers and other characters such as question marks, exclamation marks. And you can, if you so choose, add a hint at the bottom if it's something that will remind you of your password. Okay, so this is the end of your clean installation. And you'll see the screen that we've seen earlier. So that's your clean installation all done, and you'll obviously set it up to your own personal tastes and preferences with your desktop settings and menu settings. So you've set a password. Alright, let's see how to perform an update from Windows 7 to Windows 10. Remember earlier we said we'd need Windows 7 with Service Pack 1, so just make sure that you've got that. This is the Windows 7 Enterprise Edition to update to Windows 10 via DVD. So you've got the DVD. I'm sure you're familiar with the setup.exe file that you'll have seen in other programs and services that you've installed. So there'll be the preparation percentage marker. Here you can choose to perform the installation with the download or update if you've got an internet connection. We'll perform the update of Windows without downloading the updates for now, just to make things a bit quicker. Accept the license terms. Choose what kind of update you wish to perform here. Keep your settings, personal files or nothing. In this case you can keep anything because the new version of Windows is different to this one. Click on install. Now it says there the PC will restart several times. Again, as before, you may be prompted as you go through a few times, but you can go make yourself some tea or coffee and watch while the process takes place. And you can see from the clean installation here you've got your options to customize. So we're hit with the same screen we were in our other upgrade path. When you're happy with all your settings, again you can change these later. You can choose expert setting and move on if you so choose. Here you'll set your personal settings, for example your username and password. I'll enter my details here. You can choose whichever you wish, obviously when you do your clean installation or upgrade path. Click on Next. And the following screen should look familiar to you as Windows sets itself up and sets up the app. So you've got your Windows 10 here upgraded from Windows 7 Enterprise Edition. I've gone to System Settings here by right-clicking the Windows icon, and we'll zoom in and you can see the version of Windows you're currently running at the top here. Alright, so we've covered the two installation types here. I'll see you on the next presentation. So in this lesson we're going to look at the operating system architecture. Let's understand what the structure of an operating system is and how it works. So first of all, let's talk about the difference between kernel mode and user mode. It concerns the way in which each mode has access to its resources. User mode has the lowest privileges. It doesn't have direct access to resources. has to pass through the kernel mode. It needs a private address for each process allocated. This is the way only the private space of memory crashes if the process crashes. Kernel mode is the mode with higher privileges. It has direct access to the system resources. It has access to all of the memory for its processes. Now, in this module, if there's a crash in the address space, all of the OS could crash. The operating system architecture is made by the CPU. This is the central processing unit. Memory, such as RAM, is random access memory in which the CPU uses to allocate its processes. All these are connected by the data bus. This is the channel in which the information is transmitted. There are input-output devices, for example printers and mouses. These communicate with the data bus thanks to drivers. Drivers are managed by IRQ queues, which are interrupt requests. Hopefully this is a refresher if you've done the A+. These requests define when a process is terminated and another could start. Let's see the difference between an architecture with a 32-bit data bus and 64-bit. 32-bit data bus can manage any information of 32 bits, so it can manage a maximum of 4 gigabytes of memory. It uses the obsolete driver, does less calculations per second as compared to 64-bit architecture. 64-bit data bus can manage 16 extra bytes of memory. It can do many calculations per second. Even its performance is better than a 32-bit architecture as compared. So let's have a look at the compatibility features of the two systems. 32-bit system is compatible only when the CPU and the OS application are 32-bit compliant. In other cases, there's no compatibility, as you can see in the chart. 64-bit systems is always compatible except for a 64-bit application. These can't run on a 32-bit OS. So hopefully look at the A+ syllabus even if you're not taking the exam if you want a bit more information. In this lesson you're going to learn how to configure an application. Windows 10 is a hybrid technology between a PC operating system and a smartphone operating system. You'll see aspects from both local and network applications. In the Start menu we have an example installed locally on this device. And you can see we have network applications. This is an installation file on the program Notepad++. By double-clicking on the setup icon, we start a local installation procedure. This allows the application to be installed locally on your device in a selected folder. can see it's got in the Programs folder there. Clicked on Create a Shortcut on desktop, and the application will be installed locally on our device here. I've unchecked the Run button just there. So here you can see a shortcut designated by the little arrow on the bottom of the icon. For a network application, you can go to the Microsoft Store and install your application as a smartphone. We'll try to install Spotify as an application from the store here. So I clicked on Spotify. You can download and install from here, from the Microsoft Store. Now your app's ready to be launched, and this is the result. Clicked on Launch, and you can see the Spotify screen here. You put your login, or you can log in with Facebook. To manage your applications, remove them, go to the Control panel. You go to Programs and Features. Here we have all the applications installed locally on our device. Here's a Notepad++. You can uninstall it by clicking on the Uninstall tab at the top. When you do that, your application will be removed from your device. Another activity of Program and Features is to turn Windows features on or off. Here you can activate features of Windows that are not active by default, and obviously vice versa. We saw this for PowerShell earlier. We'll activate the feature Telnet Client just by clicking on its little flag here. There we go. So this allows Telnet Client to be installed. Not installed by default for security reasons. Microsoft have chopped and changed with this over the years and different releases of iOS's and browser software. Okay, Windows completed the requested changes. Our feature will be on now. Important to turn on or off our feature by needs. Obviously this depends on whether you're in a commercial environment or at home. You can manage your application in the startups by going to Task Manager. I've seen previously in the app history you have all your applications installed here listed and the resource usage. Got a long list here. From Startup you can manage which of your applications run after your device starts up. For example, you have the Spotify application which is enabled. So this will be this will start up when your device starts. If you want to disable the startup, left click on your app and you can choose Disable. And this way you can see the applications are disabled. This is for the startup, obviously. You can still get them to work later on. Another important tool is the Windows Defender Smart Screen. From Windows Defender Security Center, you can select App and Browser Control, you can choose to activate Smart Screen for both Microsoft Edge and Windows Store apps. Smart Screen for Microsoft Edge is off, your device may be vulnerable. Normally best to keep it on. Again, this is just so you know where it is and how to change the settings. So again, you get a little warning if you try and turn it off. So if you open your browser, for example Explorer, you can verify your Smart Screen. Here in the settings and in the safety options, turn on Windows Defender Smart Screen. You can select if you want to activate Smart Screen for your browser or not. Okay, so we looked at configured applications in this lesson. Thanks for listening. In this lesson, you're going to learn how to configure user account control settings. As you can see from the shield icon, when you try to install software, the user account control window will appear. The user account control is a control window. It prevents the installation of non-trustable software. Each software has its own publisher certificate, which gives you the trustability of this particular item. So you can look at the information inside the certificate. Also says who it's been issued by if you wanted to do further research. Alright, so you're asked to confirm whether or not you wanted to install it. You'll run the setup as the administrator usually. To manage your UAC settings, you have to go to the control panel. Click on Security and Maintenance. Just here. Here in the security, you can choose the user account control UAC and change the settings. From this bar you can set the personal level of the UAC from less restrictive, never notify, to more restrictive, and always notify. Please check this for yourself when you've got access to Windows 10. Either follow along with me or just do it after watching the lesson. So you can see the bar slides in each notification box changes here. Best practice is to set as notify me only when applications try to make changes to my computer. This is a mid to high level of security. Okay, so this lesson we learned how to configure UAC. In this lesson, you're going to learn how to manage Windows Defender and services. Like previous versions of Windows 10 has its own native antivirus. This is Windows Defender. Windows Defender is the full protection system for Windows. It can be managed by typing Windows Defender down here in Cortana. So we're at the Windows Defender Security Center where you can manage your security options. In the virus and threat protection, you can choose your option to scan your device, quick or advanced scan, full scan of all the files in your hard disk. You can do a custom scan and just select limited locations. You can do an offline scan, which means the scan will happen before your device starts up. Select your preference and then you click on Scan Now to begin the process. In the settings you can set real-time protection. The protection on the cloud here. You can see the description box underneath the red rectangle there. The sending of the sample potential threat here. Notification and exclusion of files that you want to scan just down here. Protection updates checks updates of your threat definition. These obviously need to be regularly checked and updated. In the scan history there's quarantine files and any files that are allowed. So these will be for false positives. Another tool to prevent malicious intent is the Windows Defender firewall. So if we click on that, this prevents inbound communications except to those allowed ports and services. I'm sure you've heard of firewalls before. You can turn it on or off here. You may have a different firewall that you want to use or in a corporate setting. You can change the notification settings. It customizes your inbound settings. Advanced settings will create new rules or exceptions to your firewall. You may be accessing some remote port or want to permit a remote port for whatever reason, and this is where you do it. In Allow an Apple feature through Windows Defender Firewall, you can select which application you wish to allow, and these will be permitted through the Windows Firewall. By checking the box, you can allow or deny whichever application you so wish. Here you can add an application as an exception if it's not already on the list. By writing into Cortana service MSC, you can manage background process and services. These are all the services that run in the background of your device. The status defines if a service is actually running or not. The startup type defines when the service actually starts. These particular services are all running now. Let's see a service like the printer spooler, and as you can see, the status is actually running at the moment. You can click on it and modify its properties if you so wish. Change its start type up or its status to manual. Here you can see its dependencies. These are the services that are dependent from this service and on which the service depends. Okay, so this lesson you learned how to manage the Window Defender and services. In this lesson you're going to learn about file systems and file system permissions. The file system is the logical architecture of the operating system. It's concerned with how the operating system manages, stores and uses its data. There are three main types of file systems. This is FAT32. FAT32 sets the partition size of your hard disk at almost 2 terabytes and 4 gigabytes for every single file. The most often used is NTFS, which gives the file system the most security. Also, you can encrypt and compress a large amount of data. Most resilient is the ReFS, which can manage a large scale of data. Also has the chance to automatically repair a failed system sector without losing it. The file system gives you the permission to manage the resources. These permissions allow you the ability to do actions, take actions on your files. So let's see how the permissions work on a new file. I've right-clicked here. Go down to new text document .txt. Now the properties of the folder are in the security tab here. We can see the group or user that has the permission to manage the folder and the permissions allowed. We can add a new user or group just by clicking on Edit. Then click on Add. Here we can add a new user or group just by typing its name in the text box. And then you can click on Check Names. Now you've added a new user and you can set the permissions, such as full control, modify, make changes, read and execute for all text files. List folder contents just to see the content without reading. This can be done with read instead of write to make the changes. When you're happy, you can click on apply. You can obviously come back and change these later. So every permission is inherited. This means that every file inherits permissions from the folder that it actually sits in. So if we go to this file inside the folder, it's inherited the permissions from the folder it sits in. If you want different permissions, specify them just by editing the permissions on the file. As you can see, we've modified read and write permissions. They've been added for the user in this file. So these are different from the folder permissions. So just quick overview. But so far in this lesson we've learned about file systems and file system permissions. In this lesson you're going to learn how to manage file sharing. Windows allows you to share resources with other users or groups. Let's see how a file or folder can be shared now. First of all, let's create a folder named Data into the C drive. So I'll right click, New, folder at the top there. Just give it the name Data. In this folder we'll create the folder IT and Marketing. Now we're going to manage the shared permissions in the IT folder. In the Properties menu, when you right click, in the Sharing tab we have the option to share. So you click on this and you can select the users to share the folder with. You can just type their name in the text box and click on Add. As you can see, the new folder IT is shared with the group IT. Only the read permissions that we can change with the read-write. So here the folders are shared on our private network. This is a network path of our shared folder. Another way to share the folder is more specific than the previous version we just saw. The Properties menu, and go to the Sharing tab. Click on Advanced Sharing, and here we can specify the share name. This can be different from the folder name and the permissions for that sharing. Click on Add. We add a new user to share with. In this case, the marketing group. Click on Check Names. And OK. So these are all the permissions allowed for this group, for this folder. We can select the change permission and we can confirm our selection. The network box for the sharing center appears. You can see the share here, the path. The icon for the network is in the left, just down here. You see the folders shared for the computer on our network. Here we can see our shared folders. To make sure that the printers can also be shared, go to the control panel, Network and Sharing Center. Click on Change Advanced Sharing Settings. Here we can see different sharing options for different networks. You must ensure the Turn on File and Printer Sharing is checked on the private network and the domain. You can see the radio buttons here for on or off. Save your changes. We can map our shared folder as a network drive if we so wish. This means our folders will be seen as an external drive for our device. Right click on this PC and we can choose Map Network Drive. We can type our path folder as a directory and then click on Finish. Here you can see the folder is mapped as a drive. And you can see it here with a red rectangle around it. Another way is from the Computer tab. Select Map Network Drive, choose Browse to open the directory that our folder is in. So here's the part of our directory. These are the folders mapped as the local drives. Alright, this lesson we learned how to manage file sharing. In this lesson, you're going to learn how to manage encryption. Windows 10 gives different ways to ensure your security data through encryption. Two custom options are EFS and BitLocker. EFS is the in-file encryption tool for Windows. It can encrypt the file and prevent access from those who actually access your device. It doesn't have a password to decrypt the file. If you encrypt the file with a key, you use it to encrypt and decrypt. It doesn't limit access to the device, but only to the file. BitLocker instead encrypts all of the drives with the bit-by-bit encryption. So it does an offline data protection. So let's have a look at how these technologies work. Let's start with the FS encryption. So for this example, we create a new folder in the C drive. Call it secret. This folder, we'll create a text document. I've called it My Secret. Let's encrypt these files from the Properties menu in Advanced. Here we have the options to encrypt our data, as you can see. So I clicked on Apply. You're encrypting a file that is an unencrypted folder, etc. You have to select here if you want to encrypt the file only or expand to the folder too. In this case, we're just going to do the file. Here with the green text, you can see your file is actually encrypted. Here's another text document. My Secret 2. Back to Properties, and then Advanced. Encrypt contents to secure data. So we're doing the same process as before. Now we're going to encrypt the file and the parent folder. So you can see the file's encrypted, and when we go up to the folder you can see that the folder's been encrypted also. Now let's have a look at BitLocker. From Katana, let's start Manage BitLocker. Here you can turn on BitLocker on the drive that you wish to encrypt. Let's encrypt the E drive. You can choose which method you want to use to unlock your drive. We'll select the password and type password in this text box. You can select your method to save your recovery key. I'll save to a file here. We'll put it in a different drive, just in case. Click on Yes, and then Next, and then Start Encrypting. So the encryption of the drive is now complete. You can see your recovery password here on the unencrypted drive. Alright, we'd have to restart our system and verify that the drive is actually encrypted now. So I'll click on the restart button. And you can see here that our drive is encrypted. Here you enter the BitLocker or the password that you chose to unlock the drive. Obviously you wouldn't choose password normally. And now you've got access to the encrypted drive. In this lesson you learned how to manage encryption. In this lesson you're going to learn how to manage libraries. Windows allows you to use libraries to gather your files together. Libraries allow you to have multiple folders, even from different locations, but they're all grouped into a single place. So let's see how libraries work. To show the libraries you have to enable the option. Click on this PC and then View. Options. You want to change the folder and search options. View. And then show libraries at the bottom here. Apply and then OK. Now your libraries are shown and they're editable. So click on Libraries, New Library. You can manage it with the Manage tab. Click on Manage Library. Here you can add your folders to these new libraries. So I'll include this folder here. I'll include this other folder also. So now we've got two folders, the IT and marketing, in our library. You can see when you expand, both the folders are sitting in the new library. Let's add another folder from a different directory this time. We'll add the folder desktop, which is in a different directory. Here, click on add. From the libraries tool, the manage tab, you can customize your libraries, change the icons if you so wish. Or you can optimize your library for its content by clicking on Optimize Library here. Alright, so you've learned how to manage libraries. In this lesson, you're going to learn how to connect devices. You can connect different devices to your PC, for example, mice or printers. They may automatically be recognized, or you may need to do some updates in order for it to happen. So let's see how to manage this type of operation. From your control panel, in the administrative tools, choose services. You can see all the services running in the background on your system. Let's find the plug and play service just here. This allows your computer to recognize and adopt hardware changes automatically. If you go to properties, you can stop this service by clicking stop. So you can basically prevent devices from automatically being recognized when you attach them to your PC. By clicking on start, obviously you can activate the service. The same way you can find the services which manage the Bluetooth devices. Manage your Bluetooth device, you can go to the start button. Hit settings. In devices you can manage your Bluetooth devices. So you can disable or enable. You can activate and add a Bluetooth device here. and your device is ready to go. You can connect, disconnect and remove the added device here. Manage a device connected to your computer. Go to Device Manager. I'll use Cortana here. Here you can disable your devices. Disable here. Obviously you get a warning message. And you can see your device has been disabled just here. You can enable the device by right clicking and then choosing the enable option. And you can update drivers also. Search automatically, or if you've got one on your device, click the next option down. You can choose to search for the updated driver on Windows Update if you wish, or as I said, you can browse if you've downloaded it or got it on a CD drive or USB drive. Okay, close that. In this lesson you learned how to connect devices. In this lesson you're going to learn how to manage storage. There are different kinds of storage devices and these are divided by their usage. There's an external memory drive, for example USB 3 or 3.1. You can have an eSATA drive, which is a drive plugged externally to our device. You can have the IEEE 1394 FireWire. Actually an older standard now, which is not used very often. iSCSI is the standard for the StarGiant network used to connect the network drive. InfiniBand computer network communications is another standard used in high performance computing. To manage your drives, you have to right click on the start icon and choose Disk Management. In this in this window you can manage your disks. A basic disk is a disk that contains primary partitions. This partition can contain the operating system because it's set as a master boot record. This disk is disk 1 is a basic disk. So we set this disk as a new simple volume. Following the wizard, we can create a new volume for this disk. You can choose the size of your volume. We can assign a letter and label for the new drive. At this point you have to format the disk in order to initialize it. So I'll go ahead and format it. Warning that it's going to erase all data if you carry on. And the format's complete. Here our new volume has been created. Basic disk can contain a primary full partition. Then you'll have to use an external partition here. Now only the primary partition can contain an operating system. Let's create different volumes for this disk here. So this is called volume 2. Volume 3. Volume 4. So as you can see here, created 3 primary partitions. Next one has become an extended partition here in the green area. The extended partition is divided into a logical drive and free space. As you can see now, both of the areas extended partitions have been allocated as logical drives. You can choose to convert your disk as a dynamic disk instead of a basic disk. This means that the disk cannot have file system installed on it. Its volume can be extended dynamically though. So remember, it's not possible to install an operating system on a dynamic disk, so bear that in mind. But it's useful for security purposes here. Last option you have is to build a virtual hard disk. This means that your drive will virtually separate into a new virtual hard disk. This format, the VHD, supports a virtual disk size of 2040, so 2040 gig. VHDX can support up to 64 terabytes. It gives you that information in the box also, as you can see. As you can see here, our virtual disk has been created as disk 4. This needs to be initialized as a new volume. We'll go through the wizard. So here's our new simple volume as we've created earlier. If I click on my this PC now, you can see all of the volumes managed under your disk manager. You can find some tools to optimize your drive, like the arrow, by checking the defragmentation. Using the defragmentation, you can optimize the space in your drive if you've been using it for some time. In this lesson you learned how to manage storage. In this lesson you're going to learn how to manage printing devices. To add your printing devices, we'll go to Control Panel, click on Devices and Printers, and you can add a new printer by simply clicking on Add a Printer at the top. Here Windows is looking for the printer connected to your device. If it isn't found, you can click on the printers that I want isn't listed, and you can do a manual search. So you can add a network printer here, Bluetooth, wireless, something that's discoverable on the network. Also maybe some help if you've got an older type of printer that isn't usually supported. Here you can select the port connected to your printer and the best drive from those proposed from the Windows Update driver. Again, this all depends on if you have a driver or which driver works best. Here you can rename your printer and choose if sharing over the network or not is desirable. You can also print a test page. So you can see the printer here that you've added. Up the top you can see some options. See what's printing, print server properties, remove device. Another way to manage your printer is from settings. Click on devices and you can see you can add your printer here too. So the printer that you want isn't listed again. You can manage your printer from Control Panel. Administrative tools, print management, and here you can manage the drivers, the ports, printers, and you can add printer servers if you so wish. You can browse to whichever server is appropriate for your setup. When you're done, you click on Apply and OK. As you can see, we added 2 printer servers and the options are listed for each one respectively. So this is how you can print to a network printer. Click on Devices and Printers again. Choose Add a Printer or Add a Device or Printer to this PC here. Now you can try to add a network printer as you did before. We do follow the procedure for the local printer. Select a shared printer by name. You can type the network path to find your printer. And you can see it's popping up with suggestions there. Click on the bottom option. Our network printer is now installed as a local printer. You can leave it as a default if you want it to be your default printer, obviously, and it will show with a green tick. I'll click on New Text Document here, just pop it on our desktop. Try and print a document and we'll have a look at the print queue. Here's the network printer, printer 1. After sent, go to the device and printer to see the printer queue. Here's the document in standby to be printed by printer 1. Pause, restart, cancel. You often do this if you run out of paper or wanted to cancel the job for whatever reason. Back to control panel. You can open the printer queue from the print management tool that we saw earlier. Open printer queue. Obviously it's empty at the moment because we've cancelled this job. Now when you click on print, you'll see it appears in the print queue there. I'll clear all this away now because I don't have a printer actually attached. In this lesson, you learned how to manage printing devices. In this lesson, we're going to learn how to manage system devices. Let's see how the device manager works. Right-click at the Start button, and then we'll go up to Device Manager and click on that. This is the Device Manager, which we saw in some earlier presentations. We can manage this in different ways through our PC. Example, here we have the devices relating to video and audio hardware. And as we saw earlier, you can right click and look at all the different options you have here. You can obviously expand and contract the menu. Add legacy hardware, properties, update driver, disable, enable. If we go to properties here, you can see the version of the driver or the events related to this device. So here's the version here. Details of the device and any events that are relevant. Here we have the audio input and output devices such as your headphone and microphone. You can see the different devices here all listed. These are the devices related to video output, your display adapters. We've got properties for our graphics card here, the GeoForce. Again, you can update the driver if you need to, roll back if there's a problem. Some optical device like a mouse and any of the pointing devices you may have installed. Here you have all the system devices. These are related to the hardware installed on your PC. Here are your Bluetooth devices. We mentioned these earlier briefly. So in this lesson we learned how to manage system devices. In this lesson we're going to look at some backup and recovery methods available for use in Windows 10. So we need to understand backup drives as part of the learning process. So first of all, from the Start tab, we'll click on System. Then the system window will open. We'll click on System Protection just here. Here you can undo system changes and create a restore point. You have to enable a protection setting on the drive that you want to protect before you do this. So click on to configure and check, turn on system protection. And the top radio button here. You can choose the amount of space used to keep your restore point. When you're happy with that, click on Apply and OK. Protection settings have been enabled now. Now you can set your restore point. Click on Create. You just have to wait for the bar to scroll across. So restore point was created successfully. From System Restore, you can restore your previous restore points. You can read the documentation there. It will not affect your documents or personal data. Here's the restore point created a moment ago. You can click for any affected programs and drivers. And this will appear, in these windows will appear the programs to be detected and those that will be restored. We haven't actually had any faults on this machine, so I'm just demonstrating the steps you would need. Then you'll go through the next step and then click Finish. So the system restore has been successful to the restore point that we created just a few minutes ago. We need to recall the safe mode now for Windows 10. From Cortana, you can type Change Advanced and Startup Options. And in this window you've got the option to reset your PC or restore it from Advanced Options. I clicked on Restart. These are the advanced setup options that kick in before the operating system. So you can select the options to fix some of the problems on your device. Select the startup settings to select the safe mode. And here to restart and to enable safe mode. It lists all the things you can do here. We're looking to enable safe mode. As you can see from the rising edge on the screen, we're in safe mode now. So this is a restricted mode where certain drivers and other features aren't enabled. Only the essential services are now active on our device. Cortana is not enabled at the moment, so we can't use that. This will help us do some troubleshooting if we need to. There's a lot more detail in the A+ exam if you go on to do that. After the restart, you're in normal mode. You can do a drive to restore your operating system from an external drive. You can connect one, for example, a USB. You can create a recovery drive into Cortana, and you can create a recovery drive to use in case of the requirement to troubleshoot any problems on your device. And you can see the instructions here. You need at least 8 gig to create the recovery drive when you connect the USB drive here. Alright, in this lesson we learned about backup and recovery methods. In this lesson we're going to talk about maintenance tools. We'll look at which tools permit the correct usage and the correct and proper usage of your device. First we'll go to Cortana and we'll type disk defragment, and you'll see defragment and optimized drives appears at the top. These tools allow you to optimize your device by reallocating free and full sectors together. So if you've got a fragmented hard drive, this is going to increase the efficiency and speed of your disk. Here you can see all the drives that are available to be optimized. From change settings you can actually schedule your defragmentation on certain days and frequencies. Select which drives you want to be included in the process. And you can analyze your drive to decide if it actually needs defragmenting. You can defragment the drive and click on Optimize. So this is how the defragmentation works. We'll type disk cleanup now to recall the disk cleanup tool. Click on that. This allows you to clean your drives from files that are useless. This includes temporary files. After selecting the drive you want to clean, you can see all the files are available to be cleaned. From view files you can see which files you're going to remove. Clean up system files, you can see the drive file that you can't clean without the admin permission. Alright, choose the files you want to clean and confirm that you want to delete these files. Another important tool is the schedule task. Schedule task allows you to schedule a task and make it run at a time of your choosing, even if you're not physically present. So here you have all the tasks that are already scheduled. You can right click to choose create a basic task, and you follow the wizard. So this will allow you to shut down the device today at 14:34. So we're on Start a Program, we'll click Next. System 32, which is C in C Windows, we'll look for the shutdown.exe file. We've called that. Now we'll click on Next. Back at Task Scheduler here now. And here's our task scheduled before it runs. You can actually delete it if you so wish. Right click and delete or disable, which we've now done. If you want to see any information about your device, System Information tool is the best place to go. Here you can retrieve information, your operating system, hard drive, RAM, CPU, device and hardware resources. You can also see your components. Right, in this lesson you learned about maintenance tools. In this lesson, you're going to learn how to configure updates. Let's see how to manage updates in Windows 10. From the Start tab, click on Settings. In this window, we'll go to Update and Security to get to the Windows Update section. Here you can see the update status for your device. For example, the last checked status of updates, the date and time. You can see the update history where you can find all of the updates that you've installed. And click on the arrows to maximize or minimize. The alphanumeric code that you can see identifies the update. If you need to search or check that code for more information about the update, just in case you have an issue or just needed more information. If you need to, you can actually uninstall an update if it's caused a problem for you. Here you can choose which update you want to uninstall. If you can't do it this way, remember we covered safe mode in a previous lesson, so you could always try that as an option if you need to. As seen previously here in the recovery options, you can access the safe mode if you need to. You can even choose which hour you can activate checking for updates in this section here. This is to avoid updates during work if you've got a particularly busy period and you don't want to be interrupted with updates happening. So choose whichever setting you need. You can scroll up and down. Save or cancel. Advanced options, you can choose your preference about how the updates are installed. How to be updated on the Microsoft products, or you can set the privacy settings just down here. Again, this all depends on what your particular needs are and if you're working in an office or you're just using Windows 10 at home. The restart option allows you to set a time to restart your machine after the update is finished. In check for updates, you can actually manually check for new updates if you need to. Here, for example, all of these new updates can be downloaded and installed. So these have become available since the last time we did some updates on this machine. Another important option is the Windows Insider program. It allows you to be a participant to become a beta tester. This means that you can receive an earlier version of the Microsoft updates and apps. Read the details here. There should also be some sort of disclaimer probably involved in the process because the updates aren't tested as much as the usual updates. Okay, you'll need to register in order to access the program. and you get taken to the page to register and become the beta tester. Just in case they ask a question about it, I'm not sure if it's something you'd want to be a part of. Generally, testing software for Microsoft, your call. Okay, so in this lesson we learned about how to configure updates.